Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Social Media News Live. So excited that you're here with us today. We are talking about one of my favorite subjects ever since it's, like 3 years where it's actually been usable now, maybe less. Anyway, AI generated images. I am super into it. And I have the guy who has built a platform that does a lot of this. And I'm excited to talk to him. He's back on the show. Dustin Stout is with us today. And we want to make this show all about you. If you have no idea how to create AI-generated images, well, ask your questions down below. We want to make the show all about you, and we will try to bring up those comments during the show today so you can ask your questions. If you're a pro and you're like, how do I do this certain thing? Well, ask that as well, because I would love to have a conversation with you guys in the chat, because I'll talk the entire time. Connor knows this. Yes. because I am really excited, passionate about this topic. And by the way, folks, it's all queued up, ready to go. Yes, today is the drawing of the Ecamm Creator Camp ticket that we have been pushing all these many months. We're going to draw for that. If for some reason you haven't entered, you probably have just the amount of time for this show. It's at jeffc.com/win. We're going to be drawing that ticket today because that is coming up in October. Dustin's going to be there. So many of my friends are going to be there. You need to be there. So, unfortunately, the tickets are sold out, but this is your chance, folks. I'm just saying. All right, Dustin Stout, how are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, I'm fantastic. It's been about 6 months that here in Bakersfield, we've had nothing but 100+ degree weather.
Ugh,
and today the high is supposed to be 92, which to us is just a blessing from the Lord above.
Oh, I know. I have two air conditioners.
Triple digit is a true relief.
Yes, I said this in my email, and we're pushing that live, but I said in Texas, it's been like Satan's butt crack is what I call it, because it is just horrible and muggy and nasty. And I've got two air conditioners, and I usually have to abandon the office like at 3, but we've had some really cooler weather here. We've got our friend even showing up already, one of our friends, Jim Fuse, saying, great to see Dustin, Jeff, and Connor. I met Dustin and Jeff on Google Plus and love Magai and what Dustin is doing. Yes, Jim has been around. He's a faithful supporter of the show, as well as Dustin. Dustin's in here almost every week as well, so this is going to be fun. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we have enough time to ask all the questions, so I'm going to hit go on the podcast machine, and we will get started. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to create mind-blowing AI-generated images? Maybe you're eager to discover the techniques behind crafting visuals that captivate and engage your audience. Or maybe you're looking to bring your creative ideas to life using the power of AI. If those questions resonate with you, then you are in the right place. Today, we're excited to welcome a guest who's done so much in this area, Mr. Dustin Stout, the visionary behind Magai, and he has taken his passion for creativity and AI to new heights. He'll be sharing what he's learned, his insights, and top strategies for mastering AI creation. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Social Media News Live. Dustin, thank you so much for coming back on the show today.
Thank you for being who you are and for consistently delivering such amazing value. I show up every week that I can, and I love watching the conversations. I love how you care so much about creators and the people who are doing the actual work. I think it's just an honor to be here. It's an honor to be your friend. I love you, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Yeah, Dustin, and we've hung out at conferences before. He's such a great designer. He cares about UI. So I am proud to call him friend. So Connor, if people don't know Dustin, tell them about him.
I know you might know Dustin from the chat, but he's one heck of a guy as well. I'm a big fan, so I'm so excited to have him on the show today. Dustin Stout is an entrepreneur, AI enthusiast, and founder at Magai. Since starting his blog in 2011, Dustin has built a successful career as a full-time digital marketing consultant, speaker, and has created numerous products that help digital creators accomplish more, including his current focus, Magai, which brings together the world's best AI tools all in one place. Thanks again, Dustin, for being here.
Brilliant. Exactly as Magi wrote it. Thank you, Connor.
Perfect.
There you go. As always, the show is brought to you by our folks and our friends over at Ecamm. You can find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. Use code Jeff15 to save 15% on your first purchase. And once again, folks, don't forget, stick around to the end because we're going to have the drawing for that free creator camp ticket. You can still enter for your chance to win at jeffc.com/win. It's like $700 value. So like, it's nothing to sneeze at. So, and by the way, we've got our friends already popping in. Gary, I'm surprised that he's here. I saw that he was doing some sort of event for his company today. Gary, if you're doing, burning the candle at both ends, I appreciate you, my friend. And Dustin has brought his fan club from over on YouTube. Dustin is the man from Camilio. And and my friend Chris Stone, his episode is coming out that he just had with us in a couple days. Butt Crack, new drinking game. I don't know if I drink to that game there, Chris. But
that
he also
sound like the most fun drinking game.
And he also, yes, I do. Jeff does it for the free consulting. See, he knows my strategy. Don't let the beard fool you. So, okay. So speaking of that, this free strategy, Dustin, I think, so I'm getting ready to speak at Momentum in about 2 weeks. Last year was the first time I've ever been able to create completely custom slides. You know this from being a presenter, is that we've always had to try to find stock images and try to force them into kind of what we want to do. And it was the first time that I was so excited because they were all mine. They were all original that I made with AI. And it felt like as a creator, I was finally able to take what was in my head and put it out to make the point that I wanted to bring across. And it was super exciting.
Yes.
Have you found that as well? Because it feels like that to me, that we're in that kind of age that
absolutely.
So talk about that a little bit.
So I obviously have a bit of an eye for design and am a bit picky. And so over the years, AI images just have not been quite there. There's always, it's the typical things. You sit down, you have this great idea, this visual scene that you've built in your head, and you type out the magic words and you hit the magic button and it comes out and it's like everything is perfect except like that one thing. There's that one thing in the middle of the screen that's just like, oh, if I could just fix that one thing, and it can never fix that one thing for you the way you want it to be fixed. But now these image generators have gotten so good, and as long as you have a few principles in your prompting back pocket, you can typically get exactly what you want. Now, text is, the big revelation of recent iterations. So that's super exciting too, because just doing a photo or an image is one thing. For most presenters, they want to put text on it too.
Yeah.
Up until recently, you wouldn't be able to do that, but now I'm anxious to explore that for a presentation I'm doing next week in Dallas. I've got my talk already, but I haven't done the slides yet because I know it's going to take me 57 hours to make 15 slides.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to give it a try and see if the text can actually work. Now, the trouble is a lot of my talk is going to be pulling from pop culture movies, AI in movies. We're going to talk heavily about Terminator 2, which was a big influence on my life. So I'm going to be drawing from a lot of real life visuals as well. So it should be interesting. I won't have to make everything out of AI, but I will have a few things in there.
Well, I saw Jeff's slides last year at Momentum, and they were awesome. So it's not like it was just an ease of use sort of thing. But I think what was also really, really cool is they came out, and once you see them, you're like, that's totally Jeff. That is, so that's what I think is really, really powerful. It's your own creativity within you, and you can put that on the screen as well.
Yes. Yeah. Your thoughts, your ideas, your style.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you have any skills, you can mix them together. I'm really, and we'll talk about some of the different, strengths and weaknesses from the different platforms. Text has been an issue. with one of my favorite ones that I use all the time is Midjourney. But Ideogram is great. I feel it's the king of the text generation. If you want to have that with your, that's just my opinion. But we'll talk. But first of all, I want to go back a little bit because, by the way, if you do want to check out Magai, well, you can go to magi.co/Jeff because Dustin has made a special deal for it's 30% off for the first 3 months. So guys, go check that out if you haven't already. And I'll be plugging that all day because it is affiliate, but it's an amazing platform. It is the best bang. Yeah, the quote is on there right at the top. I think it's the best bang for your buck if you're trying to get in and decide and even learn AI image generation. It is the best bang for your buck. So magi.co/Jeff. All right. So Dustin, what inspired you to create Magai, and what makes it different from all the other competitors out there?
Yeah. So when ChatGPT first hit the scene, I had already been working with AI. I had been using things like Jasper or Copy AI. Like there was a million different AI copywriting tools that had hit the scene before ChatGPT was even a word people heard about. But they all sucked, right? Like they were all pretty bad, and it's because they were all predicated on basically an in-out exchange. You input some things to a predefined form or a predefined template that somebody else made, and it sends it to the AI. The AI fills out that template that it's been given, and hopefully it matches what your intended goal was. Many times it wasn't very good, or it just didn't quite match what you're trying to accomplish. You had to kind of massage it a lot to really get something that was usable. But when ChatGPT hit the screens and the scene, the paradigm was completely shattered. No longer did you have to go through, search through 1,000 templates and put your idea through somebody else's lens. You can now just talk to the AI just like you would a human, and it would give you exactly what you wanted. And if it wasn't exactly what you wanted, you could talk with it some more and it would make it better. And that was mind-blowing to me. And this is why AI caught on, because the barrier to entry, the ease of use was so natural that anybody could do it and anybody can start playing with it. And so I was super excited about it. At the time, I was still taking some clients. I was just accepting the fact that the last 2 years of my life building two other SaaS products was just utter failure. I was accepting the fact that these products were not going to take off the way that I wanted. I was at a very low place. I was very depressed and just not knowing what else I have to give the world. Because if you've ever been an entrepreneur or founder, you've been in that place where all I see is failure in my rearview mirror. What else can I do? And it was just one of those moments, like all us entrepreneurs have. We find something that is solving a problem, right? And maybe we see some gaps. We see but why doesn't it do this? Or why is this missing? And I wish I could do this with that. So naturally the entrepreneur spirit was I wish I could make a better way to use this. And so with ChatGPT in particular, I was I wish I could organize these chats. I wish I could search and filter through them to find the thing that I made last week that was so good and now I can't remember it. I wish I could put these into folders. I wish I could share some of this easily with my team. I wish I could collaborate with my team. And so all of these little quality of life things, mostly business and professional work oriented stuff, workflows that I was used to, they just weren't super easy with ChatGPT in its current form back then. Even now, some of those things aren't solved. Right. So I was you know what? I heard that ChatGPT has an API, which means other third-party apps can sort of build their own version and utilize the same technology. So I decided I had no resources. I had no funds to pay developers. I just thought I have nothing else to do except to try and build this myself.
Right.
And so I decided to build the app that would help me do more work faster and easier with AI. And it really kind of ballooned from there. Once you get going and you realize, oh shoot, there are other things out there. Maybe I can tie in some of these other AI tools as well and bring it all in one place so people don't have to play subscription ping pong going from one subscription to the other back and forth. They could just have them all in one place, and I can make that possible.
Yeah. That's one of the geniuses and and you make it so easy. One of the things that I think is really cool, and we'll get into I'm going to wait. I'm going to save my thing. Connor, I know you had a question.
Well, I know I just love being able to, because I'm a Magi user, being able to kind of put in the same prompt, but then ask different models the same thing
Mhm.
and kind of pick and choose from what I'm getting from different models and kind of almost Frankenstein this thing together. It's kind of like you're getting the best of all of these worlds. So, Dustin, Magi has so many different AI models, whether it's the conversational type like, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini Llama, those sorts of things, but also from an image perspective, there's Dolly, there's Stable Diffusion, Flux. I know just got added, which is really really cool. So, can you kind of explain just a little bit more for people that aren't familiar with Magi, like how these models are integrated into the platform and how you utilize them?
Yeah, again, going back to that idea of like, I realized that there was an arms race about to happen right at the
Mm.
beginning. I knew that, every big tech company was going to create their own AI model and want to kind of dominate the space. And you had image generators popping up, video generators, audio generators, and they were all going to be these separate and siloed off tools. And I wanted to bring them all in one place. Now, thankfully, like I said, many of these tools have what's called an API, which essentially means a developer can take that technology and bring it right into their own applications. And so I just, being a UI UX guy, I'm a little bit obsessed with design and making beautiful, enjoyable apps. I just found a way to kind of wrangle them together and put them all in one place. And so that idea that not only do you get to only have to pay for one subscription instead of paying for multiple ones, but you also get to explore the
Mm-hmm.
different tools in the same interface, which is really important because experimentation is probably the best way of learning, because these AI models and tools, they're very complex and very intimidating for a lot of people. Still, like they're as prolific as ChatGPT is in the conversation everywhere, there are still millions of people who have no idea what to do with AI. And
That's very true.
let alone being able to go to all the different apps, explore how this one does it, what this one does, and what that one does. I really set out to create a space that was easy, enjoyable to use, and allowed you to sort of explore freely the different available options that were out there.
Yeah. So one of the things, and I'll bring this up real quick, is that, and I love what, this is on the landing page. So if you go once again to this magi.co/Jeff, I said, if you wanted to start getting into AI, Magi is the best deal around. And I really think that is true. But Dustin, what are some other ways that, if people are new to AI image generation, why does Magi make it a great starting place?
Well, mostly because you get multiple tools in one place. Now, that's the biggest thing, is because each AI model is better at certain things. Just like different humans have different skill sets. Some people are better at, designing apps. Some people are better at growing beards. Some people are some people are better at different things. All these AI models, they have their own personalities and they have their own strengths, their own weaknesses. And so being able to explore them in the same space really helps cut that learning curve, I think. Now, on top of that, we have also built some tools into Magi that make it super easy. Now, a lot of these AI tools out there, God bless them, they're built by developers.
Yeah.
And kudos to all my developers out there. I love you, developers, but they have no idea what real humans are like. So they build things in a way that's kind of difficult to understand because they understand it as they're building. And I know this myself, because when I build things, a lot of times I overlook some of the more complicated stuff that normal people don't understand. So I'm not knocking the developers. You're too smart for your own good. So I took the time to really, how can I simplify these tools and make it accessible to the average person who doesn't know what inference steps means or what guidance scale means, right? And what all these technical terms mean. So I've built them to be as simple yet functional as possible. And on top of that, one of the most difficult parts of image generation is prompt engineering.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
What are the magic words I have to come up with to get the perfect image, right? And most of us who are not designers, who are not artists, we don't have the vocabulary that is necessary, nor do we have the understanding necessary to really paint the picture that the AI needs to take what's in our head and put it into a visual reality. So I built what's called the prompt enhance button. So the idea here is you can type a simple prompt and you can hit the enhance button, and that will trigger an AI model that I've trained to take your prompt and expand it and make it more descriptive so that it paints the entire scene the way that the AI can perfectly bring it to life. And of course, you can change it, you can make tweaks to it. But for those who don't have all the image prompt engineering knowledge and skills, this is basically the easy button for generating highly engineered image prompts.
And so
I love that button. It's so great because I'm not that good at prompt engineering. I'll feed it a picture of me and I'll say, make me look hot, and it just comes out with me on fire. So that's not what I'm looking for.
That's the rest of us are thinking that about you, but not maybe what you're going for.
I mean, I know all the prompt engineering. I built the tool, but I still use the button. Why? Because it's so much easier, so much faster. And whether you're a pro or a noob, you can really enjoy the shortcut that prompt enhance button offers.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And so we got some great comments. Tech Troublemaker says, Magi, it's just plain fun, right? It's just fun to do. And you have a track record because Dustin makes cool stuff. He says he still remembers Social Warfare. And yeah, I use that a lot too, Tech Troublemaker. So also, Gary says, when we were talking about using different platforms, he goes, true, I found Claude to be better at some, but not all of what I need. And one of the things, because we just talked a little bit about like why Magi is great for image generation, is a lot of times, and this is kind of maybe some advanced prompting stuff, but I'll know what I want, but I need to ask it to, like, I want to get the focal length or use these prime lenses in my photo and stuff, and not having to go switch to ChatGPT, but just go in, it's already there in Magi, and then I can, paste it over into, creating that image. That is really, really cool that it's all baked in. And when you're in a rush, having everything all baked in into one thing is really, really key. And it also helps you become a better prompt engineer because you know what to ask. You're starting to understand the lingo, and being able to move those across between them is really, really key.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. What I love, Dustin, is being able to, not only follow what Magi is doing and the new features of that, but kind of your entrepreneurial journey on this. You're great about posting about how successful it has become and what's the next thing and those sorts of things. So I think it's a really, really cool story just overall that I've loved following. But I also know you probably face some huge challenges in building the platform from the ground up, challenges that are beyond just, well, what AI models am I going to put into this thing? I know you're UX and a UI kind of designer, but this takes some serious developing, I would assume, and a lot of tech and a lot of marketing and all this stuff. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in building Magi, especially when it comes to creating something for content creators?
Technology has a lot of challenges. I mean, the biggest challenge I think currently with AI is just keeping up. Right. Like there was a new model announced by OpenAI yesterday. I was literally about to jump into a mastermind call, and the founder of OpenAI was like, "Hey, guess what? New model." And I was like, "Wonderful, something new," which is great. But keeping up with it can be hard because with new models, with new iterations, come new technical challenges and things that you have to change. So I feel like I have to constantly feed into development. And as a marketer for the last 15 years, it has been nearly impossible for me to actually do marketing for my product because I've been in the product every single day, making improvements, making advancements, and trying to refine it. And being a bit of a perfectionist doesn't help any of that. I'm seeking help. If you know anyone, please let me know. But yeah, I mean, it's super difficult. Now, on top of that, we've also had some challenges with fraud. AI is one of those industries that has attracted a lot of bad actors. And fortunately, but unfortunately, it seems like Magi has gotten a bit of press and a bit of been talked about a lot. And so it's been a big target of fraudsters. And most recently, I had to unfortunately shut down the free trial because the free trial had become a target for abuse and was costing me a lot of money in terms of racking up my API bills. We got hit by what I can only imagine was a group of savvy coders who found out how to get access to our system and use it for free on an ongoing basis, and put us in a bit of a financial spot for a good few months. But we were able to learn from it, fix it. Thankfully, Magai grew to the point back in last year in December where I could hire on some development help, and so my developers are really great. They're really smart guys, and they know their stuff, and they work hard and they work fast. And so we were able to plug all the holes that the fraudsters found, and stop them from continuing to rack up my ridiculous AI API bills. But that did necessitate having to get rid of free trial. And it really sucked for me because I really want people to enjoy it and try it without having to, pay for it up front, because there is a bit of a hesitation there. I know I love a good free trial to make sure I can test it before I buy it. But the reality is it just ended up costing way too much money for me to support. And we do offer a 30-day, no questions asked refund though. And that's kind of how we justify, not giving you a free trial, but hey, if you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. I won't even be sad about it.
So was the biggest part of the fraud people getting it for free and racking up is that what it happened? Okay. Yeah. They found a loophole in the free trial system and managed to just send all kinds of stuff through our system. And gosh.
OpenAI and Claude willingly took our money.
The scary thing is, as entrepreneurs, and I had another friend who has kind of a educational side of her business, and what happened was her Stripe account. They were all these places where they were running stolen credit cards through them, and she was petrified that Stripe would shut down her system because that's where she makes money. And so
we went through that exact same thing.
Yeah, so it just rubs me the wrong way that people try that. I mean, it's hard enough being an entrepreneur and then having to deal with that stuff on top of it. So anyway, okay.
I mean, it would be great if we could just focus on making the product good, but instead we have to split our time to preventing fraudsters from exploiting the system. So
I didn't want to have. I mean, everybody here loves Magai. I didn't want to make it a big commercial, but it is a commercial. Go to magai.co/Joe. No, but it's great. It really is. Because the whole thing that you can get so many different platforms and try them out and see what works and have the options, because the other thing is they're changing all the time. Like it's like an arms race. Like one will get better and then this one will get better, and having access to the one that gets better is really, really cool. You're, like you mentioned, you're not having to cancel and go and wait till your month's out and then go to the next one. It's really cool having that all in one place. But I don't want to be a commercial all about that, because we want to talk about AI images, which Magai does. And it's another great thing because you get to have access to all those different image creators. And I see in Dustin's private Facebook group, as soon as there's a new one, somebody asks to have it added to Magai.
Magai going to have it?
Yeah. It's like, yeah. And so Dustin is really on top of that. I mean, you had Flux really fast. I mean, you had Ideogram really quickly. So it's really cool. That's another big plus on that. You don't have to wait around for stuff to happen. Dustin does the best job he can to get those as quickly as possible. But when we're talking about AI image creation, what are some essential tips, especially for just images, or prompt strategies that beginners can use to create those high-quality AI-generated images?
Yeah, no matter what image generator you're using, typically there's 3 essential pieces to your prompt that you need to include every single time when you're engineering your prompt. You need to include a subject, whoever the subject of that image is, or whatever the subject is of that image. This is like photography or visual design or painting 101, right? Mm-hmm. What is the subject? Secondly, you need the setting. Where is this subject at? Are they in a dark room with studio lighting? Are they in a dystopian cityscape? Are they in a small home office with Marvel artwork in the background? Mm-hmm. Describe the setting. for that subject. And the last thing that you always want to include is style. What style is this in? Is this a painting? Is it a photograph? Is it a abstract piece of 3D animation? You really want to describe what style of image that you want. So 3 keys, write this down: subject, setting, style. Now, as long as you include those 3 things, you're typically going to get a pretty good outcome. Mm-hmm. Now, the more descriptive you can be of those things, the better. You want to use, as many words as necessary to describe each one of those things. And when it comes to the subject, you just want to be hyper specific. And the more specific you can be, the closer your outcome is going to be to what you are imagining in your head. Now, when it comes to style, here's where you can really start to pull in some inspiration from other places and use less words. Mm-hmm. Because you can reference other styles that you're familiar with, anime, for example, anime in the style of Dragon Ball Z, something like that. You can reference other work, or, in photography in particular, you mentioned like focal length. Mm-hmm. Those are important details. So one of the things that I built into our prompt engineer or prompt enhance button was, if the user uses the keyword photorealistic, we're going to include a camera name, the name of a camera, and perhaps the lens, the focal length of the lens, and any other depth of field information. So those details are super vital to really getting the highest quality output, because these AI models have been fed all this information. So they know what a f2 focal length is, right? They know what a Nikon camera is in all the different models. And so including those details is always going to help enhance the outcome of the end image. So be as detailed as possible, and make sure you include subject, setting, and style.
One of the things,
and that'll work across any image. I just want to make sure that will work on any image generator. That is sort of the formula that you always want to use, whether that's Midjourney or Ideogram or DALL-E. Now the challenge here with DALL-E, I'll just say this real quickly. Most people don't know this about DALL-E, but when you throw an image prompt into DALL-E, it's going to rewrite the prompt for you no matter what. Mm. So it's going to interpret your prompt and say, I think I could do a better job at this. And then it's going to rewrite it, and then it'll generate the image based on its rewritten prompt. Most times it's pretty close to what you wrote, though. So
really quick, I'm getting ready to, it's going to come out on, I think, Wednesday, a podcast episode with Stelzner's new AI thing that I talk about it, and then I'm doing another training later, but on Midjourney. But one of the things that I found out the most helpful is learning artists. Like like your favorite comic book artists or whatever, mm-hmm. and then combining them together. And sometimes you may not even know, and it takes a little bit of research. Like I was doing one that I wanted to have like the Jetsons. Remember the Jetsons? That's how old I am. The Jetsons background.
We have an iRobot vacuum,
yep.
And we named it Rosie.
Rosie? Exactly. Rosie the robot. But I didn't know what that style was. And I did some research, and it's called Googie. It's not Google, it's Googie, and that's the style. And so being able to input that architectural style into my prompt made a huge difference. And I'm able to do some really cool stuff with that. So learning those artists or those architectural styles or even painters, like if I'm not an art major or any of that stuff, but learning the different painters and the styles and then being able to combine those together is where you can get some really cool original looking stuff. So
one of the tricks that I use, mm-hmm. a lot of times I'm doing photorealistic stuff. Like that's just what I tend to gravitate towards. And I like to borrow from movies. I love movies and film. And so I'll reference a movie style rather than an artist or a director. And that works wonders. Like I did a lot of experimenting with, I used the director, Wes Anderson. Yeah. So I would say in the style of a Wes Anderson film, or, for like a cyberpunk dystopian thing, I'll say in the style of Blade Runner 2049. And use those movie references, and it really does many times capture that style or that aesthetic that I'm going for.
Yeah. Go ahead, Connor.
We have a lot of really good questions coming in about this. So I want to take Abby's first, because I think it kind of dovetails into what I want to talk about as well. And Abby says, does the order matter, right? So in her opinion, she gets better results when it's at the beginning of the prompt, at least in Midjourney, what she's working for, and kind of along those same lines, how does Magi, the interface, kind of help users who are not necessarily with a technical background go through this structure? Like Dustin, you laid out exactly what you need for great image
Mhm.
generation, but how can Magi help, and does the order matter, like what Abby's saying?
It does. Well, in most image generators, it does. So the stuff at the beginning of the prompt will, in most cases, be given the highest emphasis. The stuff
Interesting.
near the end of the prompt will not be given as much emphasis. You might notice a lot of variety with whatever you put at the end, but typically the stuff you put at the beginning is heavily weighted and very uh, consistent in the image when you put it near the beginning. So if there are crucial elements, you want to make sure it does not miss or neglect, then always try to shift those towards the beginning. But always remember, if you try to emphasize everything, you end up emphasizing nothing. So really
Right.
have an idea of where you want that emphasis to be, and you may need to play a little bit with it. Some models, like Midjourney do tend to emphasize the beginning a little more than, say, a Dolly. But of course, Dolly is rewriting the prompt anyway, so that's probably why it doesn't quite put as much emphasis at the beginning. Something like Leonardo's models, they tend to do very well with whatever's at the beginning and what's at the very end. So there's sort of like a middle out that the whatever's in the middle is sort of less emphasized, I've noticed.
Okay.
But yeah, for the most part, the best practice is most important things go at the beginning, even if that's if the style of the particular image you want is super important. You want to make sure it doesn't miss that style. Put it at the beginning. Something in the style of Tim Burton. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. So
And your second question there, Connor, how does Magi's interface help with the easy button? That prompt enhance button will put that structure in place for you. Even if you put something like here, an experiment that I love doing is I'll just put like 2 keywords in the box and see what the AI does with it. One of my favorite is just put the words pure joy and hit that prompt enhance button, and just to see what it comes up with. It'll put all that structure in there: subject, setting, and style, and it comes up with some pretty amazing things.
That's
So
really
I have a
cool.
follow-up for that, because you have the prompt, but especially in Magi and the tools as well on their own platforms, you also have the drop downs, right? So using Leonardo as an
Oh yeah,
example,
yeah,
the model, you have the size, and then you have the style, and Leonardo kind of has these preset styles that you can select from.
yeah.
But what if you want your own specific style? You're putting that in the prompt. If you then go and select a style that Leonardo also has, are that going to kind of cancel it out or get confusing at all?
It might. It really depends on the model. So one of the great things about Leonardo AI as a company, which is recently acquired by Canva, Leonardo is not just one AI model. It is a bunch of fine-tuned
Right.
AI models. So what they've done is they've taken Stable Diffusion, which is one of the industry's most
Right.
talked about and most advanced image generation models that's open source, and they fine-tuned it for very specific styles. And that's when you go into Magi, select Leonardo, you'll see that you can choose from a plethora of different fine-tunings of their models. And so that style will be the most predominant when you select that model. Even if you tell it to do a different style, this model is trained on a specific style and will probably lean towards that one. Now, some of the AI models inside of Magi have what's called image to image, which means you can upload an image and it will use that image as influence, just like it uses your prompt as influence for the outcome. And so you can kind of partner an image and text to produce a new image. And that will help. It will, in most cases, try to adopt the style of the visual style of the image first before applying any other secondary styles to it. So yeah, I mean, different models have that, and we try to make it as easy as possible with drop downs, because like with something like Midjourney, you have to know all the keywords, you have to
Right.
know all the magic. They have a web interface now, which I think
Yeah, it's
makes it a little
amazing.
bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super good web interface. I used it and I took some notes because they did some things really right. But like previously, you just had to know all the keywords. You had to know, like, do the 2 dashes and then
The
do the
parameters.
aspect
Yeah.
ratio. Yeah, the additional parameters.
Yeah.
And so we in Magi, we really just try to make it stupid simple, because I only have so much brain power in the day, and
So,
I won't.
so the question that I'm when you mentioned Leonardo, talking about that, and I haven't played with it much. I know it got acquired by Canva. Is there any worry that that will go away because they were acquired by Canva? Will they shut down the API, or is there any, is it going to stay open source for you to use as a Magai user?
Yeah, I'll be 100% honest. When I got that announcement, I was not happy about it.
Yeah, I
So,
wondered.
and here's the reason. Because probably 6 months ago or so, Magi had two tools that were really useful. One of them was a background remover that was extremely good. And the other one was a background replacer. So you could use AI to not just remove the background, but simultaneously replace it with whatever generative item you wanted. The company that provided this API for those two functions was acquired by one of my least favorite companies in the AI space, mentioned at some point earlier in this broadcast. I won't name them, but they acquired this company, and within a week of acquiring the company, they jacked up the API prices like 50 times, and making it just completely unusable. Like there was no way we were going to be charged $1 per background remove. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. So that was the fear I had. So we had to remove those from the app and find a replacement. And so it was a bit annoying and frustrating. So like that was what I thought when Canva came out. Now, I love Canva. I actually interviewed Melanie Perkins early in Canva's journey, right. When Guy Kawasaki first came on with them. And, our friend Peg Fitzpatrick was, helping get them off the ground with Guy. And so I love their journey. I love what they set out to do. But holy cow, does it scare me that they acquired one of the best.
They're like the richest company in Australia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, they say they're going to let it operate as usual. And I've had the chance to talk to some of the Leonardo team over the past year and a half or so. And they seem like really great people. So I'm more positive, more optimistic about how it's going to continue to be its own entity. Right. And I think that would be the smartest move for Canva in all reality. That they have a huge community behind them, and that community and their open source nature is what's really propelling them to be one of the best sources for AI models, image models, anyways.
Yeah, one of the and I think it's fascinating because it is an arms, and this is the worst it's going to be. Like, right, really, it's like this is where we're at now. It's the worst it's going to be, and it's going to continue to get. There are going to be new models, new programs. Dustin will bring those in, I'm sure. So even if one goes, you're like, there's something that's going to take its place. It's probably going to be better. Images by Gretchen says, SSS, I use it in so many artistic areas. I remember my high school photography teacher in 1972 talking about this. I used it when teaching writing to my 6-year-old students, and it is a core to storytelling. So that's the same kind of process when it comes to image generation. Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is, like, I know in Magi you can save prompts and custom personas, but how can users leverage these tools to make better images?
Well, one of the things that a lot of the artists on our platform have found is that they have go-to prompts. They have prompts that are combinations of words or styles that they use over and over again that always produce a really good result. And so they want to first and foremost save those prompts in a place where they can easily access them right inside their tool, rather than have to like flip screens, between their Notes app or Google Docs and pasting stuff in. So we, from the beginning, like even before the image tools were super sophisticated, I wanted to save prompts just for the chat interface. I would have prompts that I would use over and over again. So we have a save prompts feature that allows you to do that in a single click. It's copied to your clipboard, so then you can paste it into the image generator input and make whatever changes you need. And personas are mostly for the chat interface at this point, because they're essentially what OpenAI calls GPTs. They're custom personalities or custom instructions that you give to these AI models to make them better at certain tasks. And we have one that is the image prompt engineer. That's actually what's powering the prompt enhance button inside the image editor. And we have about 40 something other custom personas inside the chat interface that users can access. But if you have specific styles that you always want to include, or specific instructions that you wish you could have an AI model inherit from you, you could create a custom persona and essentially create your own prompt engineer persona inside of Magai to come up with your style images, based on your parameters that you want to give it and have it use every time.
Very cool.
Nice. I love that. And it's all about making stuff easy, right? Easier for non-techies, right? To utilize AI, which is great. Rich Graham asked a great question as well. Does Magi have character references so he can upload pictures of himself to generate thumbnails, etc.? I know some tools do, but Dustin, overall, Magi and character references, how do those work?
Not yet. The models that we included, that we have in Magi, they until recently didn't have that capability, at least not through their APIs. So we're kind of limited to what these models allow through programmatic access. They might have them in their own native interfaces, but maybe haven't included the API yet. But recently, some of them have added those parameters, and I have it on my developers roadmap right now to add character reference. Now, the challenge here for me, as always, is how do I make it simple for people who don't know what character reference means?
Right.
Right. That's somewhat of an advanced modality for these AI models. And so, as my developers work on the technical side of how do we implement this, I'm going to be spending a lot of time on the user experience side going, how can we make this super intuitive and super easy to use so that, somebody who's never heard of character reference can also access it without any trouble. But it is coming. It is high on our priority list because I know personally I want to start generating images of myself with a Jeff C. beard. So I need it for my purposes.
Did you see the one today for our show that we did?
I did with the
yeah. That's a little hard to do because your mustache kept trying to get over the finger. So, Rich, one of the things that I think I know what you're talking about, like doing thumbnails like that you see that we did today for ours and some of the other past ones. You almost always have to use a third-party app. So and this is from Mike Russell, and if you want to go back and watch or listen to Mike Russell when we interviewed him, he's got a great YouTube channel called Creator Magic. He's also the guy who did Music Radio Creative, so he's like super nerdy about all this stuff. And he has a free face swapping that he uses in there that's really, really helpful. So what you do, image reference is not going to get you the exact same face on your generated image. It's just not. It won't work that way. It'll get it close. So what I do is I create it so it makes a Dustin close, like maybe if you kind of look sideways, that might be Dustin. And then I use a third-party software or that free one to swap the face. I upload a face of Dustin, and its only job as a tool is to replace that face. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, it's getting pretty close now with some of the models that there. Pixa AI is a one that I've used before that works really well. But that's how you have to do it. You have to get it close and then take it to another generation because none of the AI ones, not Midjourney, Dolly, any of those will get you the exact same face. As far as I know, I may be wrong, Dustin, but my thing, you have to use a third party.
Yeah, well, I think what he's referring to in terms of character reference is it's a newer image generation technology that will say if you generate an image of a character, character reference allows you to
go
to the AI that character and say create more images with this exact same character in it. Now you could, in a sense, some of these apps that I've seen, you can upload your image and you are the character. And it does a fairly good job of maintaining your likeness across multiple image generations. And so this is a pretty advanced form of not just face swap, which has been around for a long time, is really good, but this is actually teaching the AI to keep this subject as identical as possible across different generations. And that to me is a super exciting new technology. Again, super high on my list.
The thing that's cool about Midjourney is like I generated and even got Dustin's red shirt that he always wears. And by using that character reference, I could move the Dustin doppelganger through multiple images of having him do the same thing. And that would keep that, like you said, the same across there, which is a big deal. That's been really hard for AI to do. The cool thing that Midjourney announced in office hours is they're working on a model where you can upload your own image and then type in a prompt and change things, which will be really, really cool. I mean, their in-painting is really good, but that's another thing. So I'm getting nerdy. Okay. Let's talk about Dustin, what are some common mistakes that users make when they're crafting prompts for image generation, and how they can avoid them? So, like, what do you see? And a little plug for Dustin's Facebook group. He always posts the images he creates and also puts the prompt, so you can learn from that. So if you're a Magai user and you're not a member of that group, you need to be, because he does some really good training and educating in there. So biggest mistakes, Dustin.
I think the biggest mistakes is people kind of assume things that the AI can do that it may not be capable of yet. Like at the beginning, people were asking it for text on an image, not understanding why it couldn't do text, because like it's a computer, right? Computers know text. Of course it should be able to do text, but it couldn't do that at first. And so like the biggest mistake was, just trying to ask it for things that it couldn't do, and then getting disappointed thinking, oh, either this thing is stupid, it doesn't work, or I'm stupid and I just don't know how to use it. When the reality is it just didn't have that capability. For multiple subjects. And AI, even now, isn't super great at multiple subjects at once, but has gotten much better. Like Midjourney is pretty good at it. Flux is super good at multiple subjects. So asking sort of for too much at once, and again going back to the SSS technique, subject, setting, style. If you're putting too much in there in each of those elements, sometimes it's unable to focus on the right thing. If your prompt is 1.5 miles long, you got to know that not everything's going to make it into that image.
Right.
And sometimes it'll, just ignore most of it. So, not being descriptive enough, being too descriptive, and that, everything kind of gets jumbled together and lost. But then also just kind of knowing the limitations of the AI model, knowing that, Leonardo, not quite great at text yet, but Flux and Midjourney and even DALL-E, very good at text. You kind of play to the model that has the strengths that you need.
Yeah, that's really true. One of the things, I'll go back to Rich's point with that face thing. Rich, when Dustin talked about not making it too complex, is for each, because I have Dustin, Connor, and myself on those images, I break it down and I do Dustin first, and then I do, Connor, and then I take them into Adobe Photoshop and remove the background, and then combine them inside of Photoshop for the thumbnail. And I create the abstract background with Midjourney or the whatever I'm using to create it too. So I use that to combine everything. So I'm not trying to do too much, like Dustin was saying. I'm not trying to do it all in one prompt. I do try to get one thing, each element, and then combine them in a different program. So hope that clarifies a little bit.
And that concept is actually AI modality wide. So this idea that if you want the AI to do a really good job at something, focus it on one thing at a time, so that it could put all its energy and processing power into that one thing. A lot of people, the mistakes they make with large language models, with chatbots, is they ask it for a bunch of stuff at once. Write me an entire blog post, 2,000 words about walking cats. I don't know. And so the mistake there is you're forcing the AI to spread its processing power over a big amount of work. Whereas if you would just focus it on one section at a time, maybe start with an outline and then maybe start with the intro paragraph, it has all its processing power to focus on that one small thing, and it's going to do a much, much better job at that. The same is true with image generators. If you're having it focus on multiple subjects at a time, it's got less time to focus on the details of each individual thing, because it's spread out across, it's being diluted across multiple subjects. So the more focused, the more specific, the better.
Yeah. So real quick, before we start wrapping up, gosh, this has gone so fast. I could talk to Dustin about this stuff all day. But something that is very focused and knows what they're doing and is in their lane is our friends over at Ecamm. They make this great program that we're shooting this stuff out on. You can make podcasts. I get separate tracks when I'm done with this. If you go to ecamm.com/Jeff, save 15% by using the code Jeff15 on your first purchase. And they got so much cool stuff. You talk about Dustin has a great community. Ecamm's got a great community. You notice these successful companies have a good community. And I just think that there's a lot of similarities to what Dustin is doing and what Ecamm is doing. Focused, but also very, very community driven. So make sure you check both of those folks out today. One of the things, we want to bring up a question really quick from Deb, and I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. And she wants advice on getting the featured person or animal to look the same across image to image, especially in Magi. So talk about if there's a way to do that you would tell Deb, Dustin.
Yeah, you really need something like a character reference to do a great job of that. But the models that do have image to image, you can try just using that image to image functionality to say, keep the subject the same but change the setting, and find the most descriptive way to articulate the subject, and it'll be pretty much similar every time with models like Flux and models like Ideogram. Not so much Dolly. Dolly's a little wild. Well, probably because it's rewriting the prompt every time.
Right.
But the models that have consistent outputs, such as Flux, I would use the image to image feature to try and recreate that same subject every time until we have that character reference ability possible. But again, the descriptions matter. Detailed descriptions. If it's a young man with a beard and black rimmed glasses with long hair wearing a do-rag and a red shirt, as long as you keep those same descriptive words in there, you're going to get a fairly similar one, especially if you're using like an image to image influence.
Yeah. Today we've been talking about AI, artificial intelligence, not the other AI, Apple intelligence, which is just so annoying. That's ridiculous.
Oh, I'm glad you said it.
Carrie brings up a question. Dustin, do you have any thoughts on Apple intelligence and if you think it might kind of evolve as a dominant AI? Right now, he's avoiding Meta and X's AI, but I mean, it's something different when, your phone's right there. It's got everything. Right. It's power in the palm of your hand. So what do you think about that?
So if anybody's used Siri in the last 13 years, you probably don't have huge hopes for Apple intelligence.
Let me say, Siri's great at setting a timer. I'll give her that.
I'll tell you what, I'll give her that. Don't gender the robots. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
So I watched their presentation back in June, was it, at the developer conference, and I was both optimistic and critical, because a lot of the terminology they use, a lot of the way that they are marketing this technology, I think is far less useful than it will actually be. Kudos to them for implementing it in a way that I think will be accessible. I think some of it is just a little bit too complicated in how they executed it, but the accessibility part of it, the examples they give when you're text messaging someone and you need to find like an image or an event or have it check your calendar, like that stuff could potentially be super helpful. I tend to focus on using AI for business purposes, for professional purposes, and having it have the full personal context of my text message history, which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think it would be very helpful. Actually, I know it will not be very helpful in professional circumstances. Like if it's using my text messages with my buddies that I hang out with on weekends to watch classic films, and it's using that to pull from context-wise and voice-wise when I'm writing a professional email update to my investors, I don't want it doing that. Like I don't want it using the same context that I speak to my friends that I speak to my investors in, right? So the real challenge there is going to be, when people knowing when and how to use it and not getting, mixed signals for, the stuff that they do personally, the stuff they do professionally and business wise. Mm-hmm. I hope they do a good job. Like I really do. I don't buy their many of their use cases, but I do think that they're going to push the industry forward in some ways, and I'm excited to see how they do it. But also, I'm not buying most of the marketing that they're putting out there around it.
So, as we wrap up, Dustin, what are some kind of like maybe you can give us a open the kimono or whatever they say is to tell us what's coming up for Magi that you kind of got in the pipeline. I know you're always adding new ones that come, but is there anything else that you're working on in the skunk works of Magi there?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a really aggressive roadmap. The challenge is always time and resources, right? We're still a small team. It's still me, two developers, and a customer support person, and a virtual assistant. So we're a small ragtag group of people who just want to build cool stuff. Um, so there's a million things we want to build. Most importantly is, just making sure that we always have the best and latest technology for our users. Just yesterday, OpenAI decided they were going to announce a new model,
Right.
and so now we got to get that one put in there. But video generation is high on our list. We do have a couple video generators inside of Magai now, but we know there's more out there that we can utilize. Audio generation, we want to do more with audio. So really just trying to bring in all the different modalities. We just made a big overhaul to our chat interface so that now you can chat and do images in the same place. And there's a beautiful editor interface now on desktop that you can do. And as of today, we're making some final adjustments on the mobile image editor interface so that on mobile, it's going to be a much more beautiful and enjoyable experience to create images and videos. So really just, build the best and build the most enjoyable AI tools that there could possibly be, and making sure that all modalities are included.
And it looks great too, by the way. It's Dustin does really try to get design nailed, and I think he does it. So we've got a couple questions I want to just jump onto real quick before we wrap up. So Image Migration says, "Did you guys talk pricing? I missed that part. If you go to magi.co/Jeff, that'll give you, actually, if you want to look at it, 30% off, I think, your first 3 months. And the pricing's listed if you go and click on it. I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is now, but that's a great way if you want to go there and look at stuff. I mean, it's also a beautiful website. And then you can ask people, like, if you have any questions, ask. There's a lot of Magi users right here in this, wherever you're watching from. Ask them. They'll give you the lowdown as well. And another great question was from, let's see real quick here. Where did I put it up? It was... Kristen asked, do you list out all the tools you have mentioned somewhere? Most everything is built into Magi that we've talked about today. If we mentioned any tools, Kristen, you can actually go to my toolbox, jeffc.com/toolbox. It's got everything in there. It's got the Magi link in there. It's got all sorts of things that we use for image generation, AI. Everything that runs my business is there. So jeffc.com/toolbox is where you can find it. I'm just so excited that Dustin was here. And so thank you guys for watching. Gary says, super interesting talk. Thank you for taking this question about Apple's AI, images by Gretchen, everybody, Rich, all the folks who stopped by today. Stick around because we're going to do that drawing. But I want to give Dustin a chance to tell what he's going on, where to find him, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, magi.co is where you can find all the AI things. I'm at Dustin W. Stout on all the social networks. So if you want to find me there, say hi. I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Connor Brown, the unsinkable Connor Brown, where can people find out about you?
vacationkingdoms.com or across social medias at Vacation Kingdoms, all over the place too. Jeff, let's pick a winner. I'm
Are you ready?
I got
all right,
know.
So I'm going to go and hit this. This is for, remember, the Ecamm Creator Camp free ticket. We got a drawing, so I'm going to hit the draw winners button, and we'll see who won. Let me go actually to the thing, and here we go. Here we go.
Oh,
He's going to give me a countdown.
Oh, this is so exciting.
I know. Thanks, Viral Sweep, for making us wait 10 seconds.
Much longer than I was expecting.
Yes, here we go. Let's see who it is. There's a lot of entries.
3,
for this
2, 1.
And watch my internet go out. Brandy Joe from Olympia,
Washington.
Yes, you are the winner. I will email you the way you can pick up your ticket. Thank you, everybody, for playing and entering for this. Oh gosh, how long has it been, Connor? We've done that, but
months. Let's hope Brandy Joe is in the purple cabin with me. Let's go Team Purple.
Oh, she's in with you. Okay, Brandy Joe, put her in the Connor cabin. So thank you guys for entering. We've got some more stuff coming up into this year and next year. So appreciate you guys watching the show today. Thank you, Dustin, for sticking around for so long. This has been amazing. We'll see you guys all next week. Congrats to Brandy Joe. See you guys later. Bye, everybody.